Hi, I'm Jennifer Podemski, and I wanted to just give you a little bit of an insight to us as Native people. We don't love land acknowledgements. We don't love listening to them, and we usually don't present them in our own ceremonies or gatherings. So I wanted to offer something special, and that is an action item that will amplify your work as an ally and bring more attention to the work that I'm doing at the Shine Network, which is a not-for-profit organization serving Indigenous women in the screen sector. So we've created a course, the first one of its kind in the world. It's a cultural sensitivity course for the Canadian screen sector, and it's available for free at the shinenetwork.ca. It's called Pact, and I would love for you to take it. And that's my land acknowledgement. This is an actionable way you can showcase your allyship.
You're listening to the Firecracker Department Podcast with me, Naomi Sneakus. Okay, folks, welcome. Welcome to the very first episode of our new season. This is so amazing. I mean, I don't even know how many seasons we've done, if I'm being honest. I know we've done over 200 episodes, and that's bananas. But now we are launching this new season, and I'm so jazzed to share with you so many different voices this season. I promise you, you're going to get so charged by each one of these episodes. And I challenge you to take that inspiration and turn it into action, and then share it with us. Share it with the Firecracker Department, what you're working on, because there's always people that are reaching out to each other through the Firecracker Department community to work together, to collaborate, to find out more about how we can all create art together. So this is our very first episode, and it's with my friend, oh my gosh, I can't even believe I get to say that, my friend Robin Duke. You'll know Robin from Saturday Night Live, Second City, SCTV, Schitt's Creek, Shelved. She's just funny. She is funny first, but her funny comes from a place of like power and honesty and truthfulness. And I love her. I took a class with her ages ago, a writing class, and she just made me feel like I could be a writer. And that to me is priceless. So not only do I get to have her on this podcast, but we gave her the Firecracker Trailblazer Award this year. And we'll include the speech later on in our socials, but she gave an amazing speech at our party. Make sure you go over and subscribe at Firecracker DEPT on our Instagram, or just get our newsletter at our website, because you're going to want to hear this speech. It's honestly one of the best things ever. And it's funny too, because it's Robin Duke. All right, I'm talking too much. Let's just have a listen to my chat with my friend Robin Duke. I made the mistake of diving too deep into research and reminding myself of what a hero you are to me.
What?
I might cry a bit. Holy moly. I'm so emotional about this. But Robin, you like, I know. You paved the way. You paved the way. You did. I'm getting emotional. Here I am. It's 10 o'clock on a whatever morning, and I'm weepy. But, like just like if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be able to do the stuff we get to do as women in comedy.
Thank you.
Screwing up. I've known you forever, Robin, and I feel so lucky I can't even believe I have to pinch myself sometimes when I recognize the fact that I can reach out to somebody like you who, like, I don't want to say I grew up watching, but I did. I kind of grew up being inspired by you because, why am I so emotional? But because you taught me that women in comedy didn't have to be about boobs.
Oh, yeah.
And women in comedy could be about like being like fantastic characters and funny, smart. I mean, I guess I don't know how to thank you. I don't know how to thank you. I'm really grateful.
That's lovely. Yeah, I never, I never thought of myself when I was doing Second City, which was my first, time doing comedy. I never thought of myself as a woman. I'm going to, other people might have, but when I would go out on stage, it had nothing to do with me being a woman. It just simply, how was I going to get a laugh?
Yeah.
And for me, it was making faces.
And your characters were so
And
specific.
finding characters and, trying to have an element of truth or relatability, I guess, in those characters. Like we always started out doing our parents or our grandparents, or, that was sort of the jumping off point, I think, for characters. But
Yeah. I love that. I think that's your true start to characters. Whenever I teach characters in improv, I'm always like, just improvise your mom or your dad. Like we all
yeah.
have that. What was Second City like when you were there? Like you said it was the first time you did comedy. Like I know that your training happened a little bit because you were buddies with Catherine O'Hara, so you probably trained each other in school a little bit.
Well, we had an excellent, we had a theater arts teacher, Mrs. Eagle, who let us do whatever we wanted. At the end of the year, she used to do this thing called the May show. So she had theaters all over the school, like Theater of Man, Theater of the Absurd, conventional theater.
Yeah. Like Grotowski stuff?
Theater. Pardon?
Like Grotowski stuff? Like theatrical?
Yeah. It was
Yeah,
all
amazing.
theater in all the rooms. So whatever you wanted to do, if you were in theater arts, you could do what you wanted to do. So Catherine and I chose like conventional theater, big stage, and we wrote a musical based on, we used old songs, and then wrote this, like, story around the songs, and we were two movie stars, and it was just stupid fun, and you just had that freedom to do whatever you wanted. Nobody was telling you not to do anything. She was just great, Mrs. Eagle.
It feels like you didn't even know that you, like, as you said, you just did what you wanted to do. Like, was there a time that you suddenly felt like a woman on stage? Do you know what I mean? Like, I have the same sort of feeling where I'm like, I'm just going to do characters. But then every once in a while, I'm like, oh, I feel like the lady of the.
Oh, yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's like a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. Or when somebody calls you, I mean, I don't think this happens as much, but I'm sure in your era and my era, it was all about, like, we played the prostitutes, the nurses, the teachers, the wives.
Totally. And then on Saturday Night Live, those were the parts that were being written for us. So, I'd had some experience writing for SCTV, so I just started writing sketches that I could be in, that didn't mean that I was playing, just a woman, or I was playing a character. So that was really.
But there weren't a lot of prominent women in the SNL cast in those days, like that were writing like you were writing, were there?
I think I may have been the first primetime female cast member that was also hired as a writer. But that didn't happen until my second year, because the first year I was writing just for myself, and I wrote The Whiners and a couple of other sketches that made it to air. So I was writing things that were making it to air more than some of the writers that had been hired. So
what was that like? Was that like a huge, like, I mean, the stories I've heard about SNL is that it's hugely competitive. Was it challenging for you to get your stuff seen, or were they like, oh, thank God, a strong women's voice?
Well, you submit it to, to the read through. So if you had material and they would go through it, they would read everything, basically.
Yeah.
You would read most things.
Yeah.
So if I submitted something, it could get read and it could get done.
Yeah.
So that's what was happening.
You talk about it like it's like, I mean, honestly, you have sort of like a very enviable career of like going, if any female comedian, well, any comedian would look at your life and be like, oh my gosh, she started at Second City, SCTV, SNL. Like, it's sort of the ideal. Was it like, it feels like it's the easiest journey at all.
Lazy, did you say?
No, easiest.
Oh,
not lazy. Far from lazy. Holy smoly.
It's both. I was, Naomi, I've just been lucky. I've been so friggin' lucky with landing these jobs. I started at a time when there was no comedy. I mean, there was no,
Yeah.
I'm sure now if I tried out for Second City, I wouldn't get in.
I don't believe that.
Because
I don't
it's
believe
not
that.
competitive. I mean, it wasn't
It's
as
true.
competitive. There weren't as many, funny women or women who felt like they were funny or could do it
Yeah.
when I was starting out. And so it just, and then Catherine doing it made it so much like she just really paved the way for me.
Yeah.
And which was, she was the real pioneer that just went out, and she followed Gilda, right? And
Right. See,
because her
that's
brother,
just it. We all have the people before us,
yeah,
but you were one of my people.
yeah.
And so then when you were through Second City, you're building characters. And you said, I just can't believe that that's your first like time of comedy. Can you tell me how the SNL job even came about?
Well, well, Catherine had been asked once again. Catherine had gone down to do SNL, and I got a phone call from her, and she said, "Come on down, fly down, because I'm leaving, and they're going to be looking for women." And so I came down. I stayed with her at her hotel, and I went in and I met with Dick Ebersol, who was the producer at the time, not Lorne Michaels, but Dick Ebersol. And then I met with him. I guess we talked a bit. I don't remember that. But then he said, like, go out and meet some of the writers. So I walked around and I talked to some of the writers. And then we'd been there a couple of hours. And Catherine said to me, "Come on, we got to go. This is ridiculous. Let's just, this shouldn't be. You go in and say you've got to go and you need an answer."
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Oh my God. So you did.
I did. He said, "Okay, you got the job." Yeah, I
Ballsy.
know.
Ballsy. You said
Well,
you were lucky, but I
Catherine
think
pushing me. We laugh about, oh
right.
my God, where did we have the nerve?
Yeah. But where do you think that came from though? Like, I mean,
You,
yeah.
like, and just cocky,
Yeah.
cocky.
Yeah. I crashed the auditions at Second City.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
See?
They wouldn't see me, but I think I would still do that kind of thing now. Are you still as like cocky now with?
No. Okay. So I went to an in-person audition the other day. Oh my God. It was so bad. I
Hate
have
it.
been to an in-person
I
since
know.
long before COVID.
I hate them.
It was for a commercial. And it was a callback. So I was really confident, and I was, I was out driving. I'm on the, and apparently my husband had gone and looked it up, and he said, "Oh, it's just 5 minutes away. You're fine. It's like really close." So I had driven down from Halliburton, gotten up at 5, drove down. Well, I've got tons of time. The audition is at 2. I'm practically leaving at 1 o'clock to get there 5 minutes away. I'm on my GPS and I'm driving. I get a call from a friend. I'm talking on the phone to a friend. I look at my GPS and it says I'm going to arrive at 8:25. Well, that's maybe my iPhone is broken. And then I realized I'm going to Philadelphia.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I'm heading for the highway, so I've got to turn around. Then I get to the audition, so I'm really late. Can't get a breath. I walked into the room. Oh, I know. Before I go into the room, there's been a woman in there for half an hour. One of those where
Yeah.
they're in there forever.
Then you're like, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so they call me, and she walks out of the room. I'm standing at the door. She walks out, "Oh, bye," and they're all laughing.
Yeah, right.
The other women that were auditioning, they said, "Oh, how did it go?" And she went, they laughed and they cried.
It's a commercial audition. Why are they crying?
So so then I go in and I go, there's a table And I walk, and the two people behind the table, and I walk up to the table, and there's a chair there, and I sit down at the table, and they're like, well, no, you're over there.
And are you like, what would you like to show me today?
Like, I said, oh, I tried to make a joke out of it. Like, I sat down with them. Like, what was I thinking?
Oh, man.
And then I sat down and I said, oh, there were a few things I wanted to discuss with you about it. And they, nothing.
Nothing.
And then I got really nervous. Then
if they're not laughing.
Apart and just couldn't do it. Anyway, that was
I get it. No, I get it. I know nerves. So nerves still come into your system for this stuff?
Oh, yeah, I'm not good on camera. I like self-tapes because I could do it over and over again.
Me too.
But in person, okay, one of the top casting people, I love these stupid old stories. One of the top casting people, one of the last auditions I did before COVID, I goes into the room and I'm doing the reading. She literally comes up to me.
No.
Pushes my arm down. So that tells you what my auditions are.
You'd be
Thank
like,
God
listen.
the only reason I've gotten these gigs is because I haven't had to audition. I didn't audition for Saturday Night Live.
I can't believe that story. So then, like old days, you got the amazing Joe Flaherty at the helm of the writer's room, right? With the SCTV.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's amazing.
I
think like Joe was the seed for any comedy you see now. He was just the genesis. It was all his sensibility. Choices about choices. What choice were you making as an improviser in the moment?
Was there a specific discussion of going like, let's make comedy like this? Because I remember reading in an interview with you saying how, and I see this too, how comedy has changed so drastically from premise, character to like joke. So was there a discussion in the writer's room with Joe of like, this is how we want to focus, or did it just happen naturally?
Well, it was an understanding, I think, of what Second City used to be. And he brought that to the table, like when you were doing workshops at Second City. So I had done workshops with him. So your training was always about, you don't go for the joke, you go for the scene. The laughs have got to come out of the scene, not out of you making an extraneous joke. So they have to be organic. And you don't go for cheap laughs. I mean, Joe was the king of saying that was cheap. Or going cheap. Self or you on being cheap. So you always had that in the back of your mind. What was cheap?
Right.
And what was the better, smarter joke? And he came from Second City, Chicago, and those roots of reference and having a knowledge of literature and all of that, and opera and poetry and theater, and you came to the table with that. Well, not that I did, but there was a requirement to have a reference for a subject. So if you're playing a doctor, you're coming in and you're saying doctor-like words, stethoscope, lab, but so you're Rolodexing, you're thinking of those words as you're playing a doctor to give it weight, to give it validity. Is that the word?
Yep.
So I think that's missing a lot when I see people improvising or sketches that they lack a reference.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't think
that's a big thing.
Say it again.
That's a big thing that I had to to the students was reference, like research this. Not Google. Oh my God. When you're writing now, I mean, I'm on Google dictionary constantly.
Yeah. I was never as aware of our news as when I was at Second City, because I was constantly reading, and because that was a job. It was social political satire, I thought. Exactly. But I love what you're saying too, is the awareness of literature. Like I can't, was it Melody Johnson who wrote that great Mammoth genre sketch that was fantastic? But like that was the joy, so that you don't get every scene the same genre. Let's shake it up. Let's see what else is in there.
It gives you a structure, and you don't necessarily have to announce that you're doing a parody of something. You can just borrow that structure.
Yeah.
And use it.
Yeah.
For making a comment on something.
So did you,
somebody might recognize it, which is great. I see what they're doing. You don't have to say it out loud. So there was that ability as well too, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, you were in like the writer, you were training as you went as a writer too.
Oh yeah.
Because did you know, like in the early days, did you know, like, I want to do, like, was there a moment that you're like, I want to do comedy and I also want to write? Like, I think there's a lot of comedians, but I don't think people discover that they need/want to write until later in their careers.
Well, I think I discovered that at Saturday Night Live. I think I really loved, I like to write for other people. I preferred to write for other people.
Yeah. I read somewhere you liked writing for Eddie Murphy the most.
Well, Eddie, he could sell anything, and he was just funny,
Yeah.
He used to, Margaret and I wrote he had a character, Dion, who was the hairdresser, that Margaret and I had a blast writing that for him. And just knowing him and knowing, how he could be funny.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? Oh, the People's Court. Like I was in on that writing session with Blaustein and Sheffield and Eddie and myself, writing the People's Court, which was that Dion? Who was that? That was the pimp. That's where he played the pimp.
Did you find that you wrote for other people more than for yourself?
Yeah.
Did you mind that? Like, you were talking about, like, it's all about airtime, Sneakus. But did you start to be okay with having somebody else do your work?
Yeah.
Much
happy.
Yeah, you didn't miss it. Oh, you didn't miss doing like on camera stuff.
Yeah, my ego certainly did, but I did prefer, and I would write myself into things, but I preferred, not having the pressure.
Yeah, again.
And I didn't, I feel much more comfortable on stage than I do in front of a camera, comedically. Yeah. So I always shied away from the camera. It's like, the minute or the camera goes on and I'm like, camera.
Right. Yeah, that's so interesting.
I don't have that when I'm on stage. I have more freedom on stage than I do.
Yeah, I get it. I understand
and
that.
Eddie, you put a camera in front of Eddie and it just soaks him up.
Yeah.
I mean, he just is so good on camera. There are people who are really, really good on camera, and those who aren't.
Yeah. So then you're writing, and did you, because you were in New York for 4 or 5 years with SNL, right?
No, I was 3 years.
3. So was there a moment that you were like, I'm done, or were you feeling like, what brought you back to Canada?
Well, for one thing, my writing. What happened is that I had a writing credit and was getting paid as a writer, and Jim Belushi came on, and they wanted to hire a writer for Jim Belushi. So Dick Ebersol came in to my office and said, will you give up your writer's credit? And I said, no. So that meant that I went as well.
Wow.
They wanted to hire a writer, and probably another woman at that point.
Yeah. Was that heartbreaking for you? Like, it feels like, gosh, SNL seems like such a pinnacle for all comedians. And, you had such an amazing run in there. Was that challenging for you to come back to Canada, or how did you shift that?
I've blocked it out.
I get it. I get it. I'm sorry to bring it up. Never mind. Let's move on.
Still not over. I can't, I honestly can't remember, just supportive friends.
Yeah.
And, I remember going down to LA once again. Catherine was there. I think I, stayed with her, and it was, you're better than that. You're better than that. And it's true. I didn't ever feel that was the best place for me.
Yeah.
Writing wise, yes, I love writing. And I was a fast writer. I could, come up with an idea, and I really knew how to quickly write something. Because you were writing every week, having an idea, and then you had to write it. Having 5 ideas, you had to write 5 ideas, not just one. So that I was sorry about. I understood, I think, the acting piece of it once.
Did you like living in New York?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
But it's expensive though.
So expensive.
Yeah. But I did like living in New York.
And so
any chance I had, any time I had off though, I'd drive back to Toronto. So it wasn't for until after Saturday Night Live that I spent any time in New York.
Yeah. Because you're just working.
Yeah.
You didn't get a chance to really explore it.
We're just going to take a little break from the conversation and hear from our sponsors. Okay, as an actor, I go to a lot of casting rooms. I do a lot of auditions, and I have to tell you, one of my faves, man casting. Yeah, it could be because Steve Mann, who's leading the charge, has surrounded himself with extraordinary people like Sarah Sheps and Dan Falk, who just care so much about the actors that you actually look forward to auditioning. Can you believe that? But you really do. That whole team just brings such instincts and such humor to what they're doing. They pay attention to what you're doing. They pay attention to details from commercials to films. Man casting brings people together, whether it's actors in a room having a great catch up in the waiting room, or if it's products and creators. Man casting does it all. So big shout out to Steve, Sarah, and Dan. These are the magic makers behind the scenes. Man casting, I love ya. For more information about man casting, go to mancasting.com. And now back to the show.
So you're coming back to Toronto after that.
Mhm.
Did you have a vision of where you wanted to take your writing? Because that feels like that was your... No. Just lucky. You're just like a horseshoe person.
Well, but what happened there, I ended up, I wrote the Screen Awards with Dave Flaherty and Mark McKinney for Mike McDonald and Sheila McCarthy.
Amazing.
It's fun.
Yeah,
that's what I did.
But you didn't have any trajectory. Like, I feel like, I don't know, like there's so much discussion around careers right now. And it feels like maybe, I don't know, like there's a goal, right? Like, what's the goal? What's the goal? Did you have anything like that? It feels like you just kind of went, okay, I'll try that. Okay, I'll try that.
I think so. Yeah. No. What did I want? I don't know. Things, just sort of popped up. Well, I know, for example, I went to Chicago. There was a Second City anniversary, and I did that scene I used to do with Mary Charlotte, and called Shop. I did my Shop character, Mona.
Yes,
and,
fantastic.
Harold Ramis saw it and asked me to audition for Club Paradise.
Right.
So I auditioned for Club Paradise.
That's one of my favorites. That movie makes me weep with laughter. There's scenes in that.
Yeah, I had a nice bathing suit. I'm the Sony bathing suit. God, I was bad with that. I just watched it a couple years ago.
What do you mean you're bad? What does that mean?
Just hiding from the camera.
Oh, right.
Once again, hiding. But God love him, Harold. God love him. He cast me so many times, and I'm
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day, come on. I
mean,
it's
that's
going to be in a movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Groundhog Day.
But also like for somebody that A, doesn't want to be on camera, and B, isn't like necessarily a driven career. Like you're not like, I want to do this. You're like, okay. Did you ever feel like, just lucky, just blessed? Like if everybody could have a career like yours where you have Harold Ramis going, would you like a part in a fantastic movie or two?
Yeah.
Was there ever a time that you felt like it was going in a direction you didn't want, or like you needed to do more writing? Like it feels like writing is really in your core.
Oh God, yeah. Coming back to Canada after, with my son, I got pregnant. And then we moved back to Toronto.
Right.
It's great because I can't imagine how we could have managed growing up in LA.
Yeah.
And so he could go to school, he could ride his bike to school, come home at lunch. So while that was going on, I guess I was going out for auditions, doing stuff, not getting anything. And ultimately, I think, I started writing for magazines. I wasn't getting any work because I don't audition well.
Right.
So I got it. And then that's Women Fully Clothed. I was out with moms sitting at having coffee with the moms after drop off. And we'd be laughing about everything, not just, being moms, but it was always, you come out of these coffee sessions just elated and, ready to meet the day. And of, just cleaning up or whatever, the job was at the time. Taking fingerprints off the wall. But and then at the same time I was asked to teach at Humber College. They did these summer week intensive comedy things. So Dave Flaherty and I taught sketch within a week at Humber for people, of all ages. And they would come in, and at the end of the week, they would do a show of sketches that they had written. It was like phenomenal.
Amazing.
And okay, so where am I going? So I know at one of these things, I remember they would also have people come in and speak, people from the industry, and talk to the students. And I'd always go to these sessions. And I remember these young guys coming in from SCTV, the comedy network or something like that. And they were saying, young comedy is just for, young people. And I looked around the room and I thought, there's no young people in this room.
Right.
Like everybody in this room taking this course is older than you.
Right.
These guys. And I thought, that's, I'll show you.
Well, how old were you at that time?
How old was I? 50, around 50.
Right.
Before I like 48. And then I remember Mark Breslin talking about Sandra Shamus.
Yeah.
And how, the audience that she had of women, and that women liked to go to the theater. They preferred the theater over a comedy club. And I'm like, that's true. So all these things were percolating. Right. The coffee women, the comedy, and the wanting to do sketch. So that sort of was the basis of Women Fully Clothed. And then wanted to put together a group of women, like-minded women that weren't particularly, what's the word, ambitious? No, that were sort of cool and kind and fun, and that
you liked hanging out with off stage as much as on.
Yeah, that inspired me.
Yeah.
So
right, so that's like Teresa Pavlin and Kathy Greenwood, Deb McGrath, and Jane Eastwood, and you.
Yeah.
Like
and
pillar.
Originally, it was Janet Vandergraaf.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Then she backed out, and that's when Deb came in.
Right. So you're founding this, and this is to scratch the sketch itch, right? Like that's because you're like, I need to write sketch, and you do like performing on stage. And that comedy group, I mean, it's one of the best shows I've ever seen is the Women Fully Clothed.
Yeah, I have to say, that was creatively, that was one of the greatest things I feel that I've done, you know, and it was so great because I could do it while I was teaching. You know, I started it or sort of put it together at the same time that I was doing my first year at Humber.
Yeah.
Full-time faculty.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I feel like you're a teacher that has such passion for your students too. I don't feel like you're teaching as a thing. Like sometimes you meet folks and they're like, I'm just teaching right now. It's not what I really want to do, but I feel like you love it.
Well, I grew to love it.
Oh, interesting.
I have a calling. I never felt like I had that calling, but I like I like the steady work.
Yeah.
I like the paycheck, and I like the pension idea of a pension.
Yeah.
And
that's when I met you for the first time, is when you taught me.
Oh yeah. That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. I remember handing you a sketch, and I didn't have any confidence in myself as a writer. And you were like, this is really good. Keep going on this. And I was like, okay, well, if you say so, you're no fool. I'm the fool. So yeah, it was huge.
Well, I've always believed that if somebody thinks something is funny or has an idea, it's valid, and it's just finding what it is, what angle to take, how to structure it, where does it take place? Because if it's an original thought, it's going to take work. It's going to take time.
Yeah.
Develop, and grow. So, I just know that from my own experience when I would have a funny idea and I couldn't get it across to people.
Yeah.
And I just knew that it had to, find its moment. It's like that character, Mona. It really needed a place and a time.
Yeah.
And a partner.
Did you find Mona like going into the wrong location until you found like the clothing store and you're like, oh, that's where she lives?
Yeah. It was always like, it started out in a clothing store and it was a high-end boutique.
Right. Yes.
Initially. It was her shop, and she was just looked down at every customer. They were all beneath her.
Yeah.
But she had to make sales. So she would shame them into buying things.
That's fantastic.
That you walk into a store and you feel like they think you're stealing things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Like that's the feeling I would get from these women. So that's how it started. And then with Mary Charlotte, Bernie Solins was directing it. And he never got it. He never got what the scene was about.
Right.
Well, I don't get it. And finally, it was going to be in the show. We were in rehearsal for a show. And he took it out. And the night before the opening, Bernie was there with his wife, Jane. And Charlotte and I, Mary Charlotte Wilcox and I, put it into the improv set. You know how all that works, right?
Yeah.
The regular show. And then we pulled it out, put it in the improv set.
Yeah. That's how, just for folks listening, but that's how Second City writes their shows. We do the sketch, and then the improv is where new ideas come up.
Yeah. So we put it in. And Jane apparently turned to Bernie and said, put that in the show. Because she got it. She was a woman.
Yeah.
She got it.
See, I don't think you realized that you were writing with such a strong female voice, because it's just your voice. Do you know? Some people are like, what's a female sketch? Like, why don't we just have a sketch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a funny woman. Here's my true experience.
Yeah.
How do we translate that into a sketch? And that's how Women Fully Clothed was. It was all what's our experience, bringing all that to the table. Yeah. How do we put that into a sketch? How do we write that?
And that show was for everybody, though. It wasn't like 5 women talking about being a woman. It was like very
Oh, I know. Men were a
classic.
riot when they came. They just were like, wait, this is funny.
Yeah.
They're as shocked as anybody.
But did you face that? Like, I mean, at that time, you were all over 40, I think, with the women fully clothed.
Yep, Teresa was baby.
She's the baby.
She was baby.
But also like you were faced with people saying like, well, this is, young people is where comedy is. And so what was your attitude about that? Because
It was, I'll show you. That's always been my attitude.
yeah.
It's like, I'll write my way out of it, or I'll show you, or screw you. What do you know?
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah. I feel like also, say it again.
That's, and I think that comes when you're trying to do something original, that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
How do you get people on board? I don't know. That's the you have to realize it. You have to realize it first, because just telling somebody, you have to put it all together and then make it obvious, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's motivating, right? When I can either waste my breath explaining why that person's wrong, or I can just get to work and show them. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes though, when somebody doesn't get it, it's like, okay, something's not coming across. They're not getting it. Why aren't they getting it?
Yeah.
What do I need to do to make them get it?
Yeah. Right.
What isn't working here? What isn't clear? Yeah.
Yeah. In the middle of that, you wrote your show, I've Been Hacked. Right? What happened to that show? I know it's all around your cancer chapter of your life.
Yeah, my cancer chapter.
Because I read something. Wait, you don't want to say it? It's a chapter.
Oh, I was going. I lost a breast.
Ugh. But I read somewhere that you were like dealing with it privately, and I have to tell you that I didn't have breast cancer, but I had skin cancer, and I dealt with it privately too until I found out after the operation I was going to be on crutches. And then I was like, oh, they had to do a skin graft and stuff like that. So it's quite more involved than I realized. So, and I was in the middle of Second City rehearsals. So actually I couldn't keep it on the down low. I had to be like, oh, by the way, I'll be on crutches. So I know that you kept it privately until you were like ready to deal with it in a written world too. Was that? Yeah.
Well, I did tell a few too many people.
Too many?
Yeah, too many. And it kind of did. I wish I hadn't told people.
Yeah.
In a funny way, only because you get that. How are you?
Yeah.
How are you doing? Are you dead yet?
Jesus. Yeah. Thanks. That's not helpful.
I had a friend who died from cancer.
Jesus. Oh my God, this is a sketch, but it's true. As soon as you start telling people, you're like, now I'm dealing with my struggle and your struggle.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
People don't know what to do. It's an interesting, I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, me neither.
So, so you get, as I say in my show, you get a lot of bad soup.
Until you get a stew?
People bring you soup.
Oh, a lot of bad soup.
Soup.
Yeah.
Oh, shouldn't be making soup.
2 words, Uber Eats. Gift cards.
They didn't have it in that day. They didn't have it then. My friends, it was like lovely friends in the neighborhood, those women, they went and what did they do? There used to be those places where you could do the prepped food. And you bring over just the ingredients or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like
they did a big party without me
to prep food for you. And you're like, oh, that would have been nice to go do. Yeah. Do you feel like that's all in the distance now? Like
I hope to God.
Yeah.
But there's just always something.
Yeah.
There's always a little thing
in the back of your head
that just is, could happen.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't want it to happen again.
No.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just always there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know, because who knew it was going to happen the first time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then but I mean, I think writing probably is like your, I don't know, the grease behind getting through that kind of thing. Like you're writing the one person show and then you're getting back to writing with sketch.
Yeah, it's like finding the humor in something, always finding, looking for the humor, watching, observing human behavior.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we do, right? We're psychologists. We're observing human behavior all the time, and ourselves. We have to always look at ourselves as well.
Yeah.
On how we are behaving in situations and making fun, always like pointing the finger back at ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what Bernie would say. That's what you do as a satirist. I think as a humorist, you have to point the finger back and see where you're a part of it, the absurdity or the stupidity as well.
Yeah. So then are you like, I mean, I guess the advice at this point in your career, like, are you still writing for projects? What do you like? I know you did Schitt's Creek. I know you've got.
I'm gonna make it, Naomi. Someday I'm gonna make it.
But like, I don't think I'll ever stop. Like, do you think you'll ever stop? Like,
no,
making funny?
I don't know. I mean,
you were just on that show Shelved that was so funny. You're so friggin' funny in that, Robin. And of course, your character in the blouse store in Schitt's Creek was extraordinary.
Thank you.
But like, do you think you'll ever, like, why would we ever stop making funny?
No, I'm working on it. I'm working on stuff. I have to be creative.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do, and finding ways of doing interesting ways, challenging ways of doing that.
Yeah.
So I've always had an interest in editing, because I just think that it's very hard to edit comedy.
Agreed. Yeah.
And so I'm just, I'm trying to teach myself iMovie, which is.
Are you kidding me?
No, it's so hard.
It's so hard.
Yeah. But, I'm trying to do it. I'm really have, now that I'm retired, that's my focus. I want to learn editing.
What do you mean retired? Like, do you like
I'm
that?
retired from teaching. I have time now. It's like I'm back to my old life of
Got
not
it.
doing anything.
Okay, so you're not teaching anymore, but you'll still do.
Like, I'll do something stupid. Like last year I saw what's the show? Hamilton.
Yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
I saw Hamilton. And so I wanted to, as a thank you to the person who got me tickets, learn a song, learn the Hamilton. Elizabeth, the son of I can't remember. So I learned the words to that song and recorded it. I never sent it to him because it was so bad. But like that kind of thing, I'll do that. Like focus on something stupid like that. Or my husband turned 70 a couple of years ago and a big party for him. So I learned the song from Dreamgirls, and I'm telling you.
And did you perform it for him? Oh my God.
It was so he came up at the end and put a cape over me, like James Brown.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, like oh my God. So this is the thing, Robin, like you're allowed to just eat bonbons and go to the club for lunch and breakfast and dinner and whatever you want, but you're still making this kind of stuff. You're still thinking about projects. You'll still do your TV whenever you want to, because people will be lucky to have you.
Well, if somebody would hire me, Naomi, it's like I can't do auditions. Like I sit down at the table. So what did you think of myself?
And they're like, actually, the audition happens on the other side of the table. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So
would you happy, what
oh,
about writing your own show? Is that ever like, do you have that in your system to like, not necessarily, because I know you're not thrilled about being on camera, but what about being the showrunner of a show? Because your voice is like, we need it. We need it in our
I'd love
community.
to do that. I'd
Yeah.
love to do that.
All right. Hear that, universe?
Put it out there for me, Nate.
Yeah.
Put it out there. Yeah, I just went in the other day, not the other day, the other month. Ann Fenn, Ann Fenn.
Yeah.
And she's a good friend of mine, and we taught together. And she was,
Oh, yeah.
I had the best group of students last year. For my last year, I had the best students. I had the second years and the first years. The first years were brilliant. The second years, it was like some kind of torment.
Right.
And so I had the best of both worlds,
Sure.
or the worst and the best of worlds. But anyway, so Anne had the first years this year, and she asked me to come in and coach them in their, they were performing in a sitcom that they'd written. I went in for 4 days. I had the time of my life directing them for camera.
Yeah.
Like doing that. I've always done it for stage with the students, but this was really like finding what was funny and everything that they'd written. And at the beginning, they're on camera just really stiff and saying the lines. Why don't you try this? Or what if this happened? And by the end of the 4 days, they were just going crazy. Like everything.
Yeah. So
everything.
exciting.
They just came alive. So I love doing that. I love, bringing out the best and finding what's funny and making it better, always trying to make something better and funnier.
Well, you know what? You do that even without teaching. What was that?
That's what I learned at Second City.
Yeah.
How do you make this better? How do you make this funnier? And still within the context of the scene. And was what I learned from Joe and Harold and all those amazing people.
Yeah. And I'll also say that I think like you don't even know you're teaching that, because like I see the work that you're doing in whether it's on camera or you're writing, and I'm like, oh, like you're sort of pushing folks to go deeper with comedy, right? So that it's not just like fart noises, and which are funny. I mean, who's kidding who? A good place.
I'll go there. I'll be the first to go there, but I'll do something else first.
Yeah.
And then I'll land there.
Yeah. It'll be in an Ibsen genre play, but it'll be a well-placed.
And very, very well placed. Subtle. Or maybe not so subtle. Yeah.
I could see a whole show around Mona.
Oh, I love Mona.
I know. What was that inspired from? Did you ever was there a woman that, or just from your heart?
Just the women
that
you would see in those stores. I mean, there were, down on Bloor West, there were tons of them. Any store I went into.
So judgy.
So judgy.
Yeah.
And women would come up to me and, say, oh, I know who you're doing. And that's Walt Renfrew, isn't it? That's that woman. I know who she is. Yeah, they would recognize. Oh, and then my aunt, who used to work at Dallard's.
Yeah, I remember Dallard's.
It was an old clothing store.
Yeah.
Mall. She saw the scene and she said, because she was a sales lady, she said, well, we have people like that come into the store all the time. So she was seeing it from Mona's point.
Right. And meanwhile, you're like, that's you.
Customer, like, they can't decide what they want.
Oh man.
So anyway, that was I love that when that happened.
Well, I adore you. I really can't
believe.
Naomi,
I'm so proud of you and all the great work that you've done. I'm always following you and saying, wow, that girl, she is amazing. You really are. You're really,
we can't do this stuff alone. Like if you hadn't done the things that you did in your, like you made the way, and you also made me understand, like even in that the chunk of time that we spent when I took your class, like you did make me understand the value of like going deeper in comedy and the value in having references, and you really influenced my life.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
big time.
you're doing a great job. You really are. You're an inspiration. You're an
Wow,
inspiration to
that's
me,
kind.
and I'm sure lots of women, that you've worked with and
Let's
taught and
now I just want to hang out and like do jokes with you. Do you do improv anymore?
I'm not, yeah, no.
Yeah, I know.
We did for a while. Like,
I know you did a little bit
we went to the comedy bar to try out some stuff, and I
yeah.
had fun doing that. I have to have a premise to improv with.
Yeah.
I like that. That's how I learned how to improvise. You come
Yeah.
in with an idea.
Look, I'm just looking for a way of hanging out with you and making some funny. So
Oh,
I've got
okay.
some ideas.
Okay.
And maybe right after the recording, I want to pitch you a couple of ideas.
Oh, I'm here.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. We're going to wrap it up, but I'm going to wrap it up with these questions that I always ask at the end of podcasts.
Okay.
And they're the same for everybody. Just go with your gut. Fill in the blank. To me, a firecracker is
A dame.
yes. Yes. What do you want to be best known for?
Kindness.
If your life was a movie, what do you think was the climactic turning point of your movie?
Oh, my son.
Yeah. How old is your kid now?
29.
Gosh.
Oh, this is cute as can be.
A 29 cutie, 29-year-old cutie. What's something that people don't know about you?
Good swimmer.
Yeah, they know that now because you went to the club this morning and swam. What has been your favorite mistake and what did you learn from it?
Have I made any mistakes?
Well, I don't know if it's an interesting question because I don't necessarily believe in mistakes because they fuel your life, but
Oh, oh, maybe my drinking.
oh,
My drinking. That was, when I got sober 33 years ago. So
wow.
my mistake was all that, drinking.
33 years ago, that's pretty amazing though. And I would say that if somebody goes through comedy and doesn't battle alcoholism, that's rare.
Yeah.
Right? Like how often are we paid in drinks and all our shows are in bars?
Oh God. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So that was a big, but is that a mistake? I don't know.
No. What was the thing that you took from it?
Being sober.
Yeah.
Better to be sober.
Mm.
And gift.
Yeah. I get it. What is something that you haven't done but you want to do or you have to do?
Direct.
Yes.
Direct.
Yes. You should be directing. That's like a no-brainer. Okay, we're gonna talk after this. Who's a firecracker? Who's somebody, a woman or a non-binary folk that is in your life that you could shine a light on?
Catherine. I've got a million of just brilliant women in my life. I am so grateful for the women in my life. I lost my mom when I was 19.
Oh wow,
and
that's
I've
young.
been blessed with a large number of women who have raised me and taught me and nurtured me and mothered me.
Yeah.
So, but Catherine, I would say,
yeah,
she's a firecracker.
What's your favorite thing to do together? Like when you're together and you're not working, you're just.
Oh God. We used to love to draw and drink tea. Yeah. Sit and just draw. Make cartoons. We used to listen to the radio and try to draw the people's what they looked like. That was one of the funnest times.
I love that.
Draw faces of the people on the radio.
Yeah, I love that.
They looked like what they might look like.
And what do you think the biggest lesson she taught you is?
Confidence, just believing in yourself. What did she say? What did she say? go in, land on the foot you go in with, or something like that. Like, you know, she really has a belief in herself and that, you
Yeah.
know. And,
Yeah.
and yeah.
That's good. Yeah, we all need one of those in our corner.
Yeah, like but at the same time, she's so generous. I mean, that is really her generosity.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Like the fact that she was like, I'm in New York, you should come down. They're going to be looking for women. That's like an extraordinary friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know.
What's the worst advice you ever got? If that might have been the best advice, be confident.
Oh, well, back to drinking. Oh, you can have one or two.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Have a drink. Have some water. Have another drink. Have some water.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's bad advice.
No kidding. Yeah. And then what's advice you would have given to yourself? Maybe like your younger self.
Don't be an actor waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned at 50 with Women Fully Clothed. You've got to create your own work. Don't wait for somebody else to do it for you, because they won't.
Yeah.
Not that they maybe don't want to, but you got to do it yourself. You got to really, you know.
Yeah. It's also your voice too. Like Women Fully Clothed was so, like the five of you, it was so specifically your voice. Nobody could have written that other than the five of you.
What a blessing that was.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Any talk of reunions or remounting?
You know, we almost had a show in just before COVID. We were just short of 10 minutes of material. And but I think we're going to try to do a best of in the fall. We're looking at some venues in the fall, so that'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to that, because we just, you know, we have laughs.
Yeah, I'll be front row. I love that
Go
show
where the
so
laughs
much.
are. That's what Deb Devine would say, Eugene's wife. Go where the laughs are.
Yeah. All right. Now you got to tell me, you're also writing a book. Tell me more about that.
Well, I took I got my MFA, my master's in fine arts at King's College. They have a course there, great course. It's a creative nonfiction. So you go for 2 years. It was online, but you had residencies in Halifax and New York and Toronto. Oh. And at the end of the 2 years, you have a book. So my book that I worked on throughout the 2 years was called My Funny Life and Improvising Through It. So I have that book. So a lot of the stuff that I was talking about with you will be in the book.
So you could do like you could listen a little bit, read a little bit. You can stop and start it.
Yeah.
What's where can people find it? I guess online.
Well, I haven't gotten it done yet, of course. I'm still working. Yeah. Okay. I'm just starting. It got hard to do when I was teaching, but over the past, I'm just getting it, ready to put out there.
Great.
So I'm just talking about it now.
Amazing. Amazing. Of course you should have a book. Yes.
Fun.
Beautiful. Yeah. All right, Robin Duke. What else? What else? What can't you do? Sketch, writing a book, lead in Hamilton. Just so you know, I'm going to tell people that you were the lead in Hamilton, whether or not that was true. I'm just going to start.
I can't even remember it now. And I am telling you, I'm not going.
What was the one you did for Henrik? What was the song you did for Henrik?
And I'm telling you.
Well, that was a song.
Dreamgirls. What was the woman's name? Jennifer Holliday.
Oh, yeah.
Jane Eastwood was there. What? Why would you do that?
She didn't say that.
Yeah.
But wait, was it a big party and then you had the spotlight?
Yeah, we had a band. We had Hendrik's old band. Mary Margaret O'Hara was there singing.
Amazing.
And then I got up and sang, and I am telling you.
Fantastic. You can do anything. You're Robin Duke.
Not well.
No, we didn't say that. We said you could do anything.
I know a little bit about a lot of things.
All right. I don't want to say goodbye, but maybe
Oh,
we can carry this on in like
yeah,
a coffee or
I'm
something
here.
like this.
I'm
I
here.
think, yeah, what an absolute treat I really appreciate this whole talk, but also everything you've
Oh,
given.
thanks, Naomi. And
truly.
back at you.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye. Just an absolute joy. An absolute joy. And she promised that we could have lunch coming up, and you better believe I'm taking her up on that. So to find out what Robin Duke is doing next, you're going to go to her Instagram, and that's duke.robin, or Women Fully Clothed to find out where they're going to be doing their show next. It's extraordinary. She's extraordinary, and I feel real lucky to have had that chat with her.
Hey, there's some big news. We've got a Firecracker Department in Vancouver now, and that team is just bursting to get started building that amazing firecracker community. The Vancouver Firecracker Department includes Liesl Lafferty, Krista Rand, Zainab Tuck, Madison Falco, Jody Quine, Ellie Harvey, Denise Jones, and so many more. Don't forget to go on over to our website, firecrackerdepartment.com, to check out all the events, all the departments, all the firecracker things that are happening, and get involved. There's always room for you at the firecracker table, so just pull up a chair. While you're at our website, why not subscribe to our newsletter? It's the best way to keep in touch with all the things that are happening. I promise you, we don't send too many newsletters out, but we just keep you in touch. You're welcome. Our podcast is hosted and produced by me, Naomi Sneakus, and Pau Carranza. Our editing team are Jennifer Rowley and Jana O'Connor. Copywriting is done by Rebecca Gismondi. Video and graphics manager is Aislinn Paul. Jody Quine is our website designer. And Angela Murdoch is our socials manager. Big thanks to our actioneers, Veronica Martin and Pau Carranza.